And good morning, and welcome to a I can't say very enough, special edition of Truth to Power. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and we have a star studded cast of young men and young women that are going to be on the show with us today. These 2 hours are going to go by very fast, but that's because you have a great audience and we have great guests to be able to go and disseminate some great information to you as well. But just wanted to make a few announcements first before I get to my very first special guest, and that is, as many of you see, I'm wearing my Building Black Brickmaster shirt on, and I just wanted to let everybody know that we're having a Who's the Best Dad Ever. And what we're doing is that we're going to have a great debate, and this is our second one, and we're going to be talking about what generation of dads were the best. So we're going to look at the baby boomers, the Gen X's, the millennials, and the Gen Z's. And we're having that discussion today, and that's going to be at the historic Shrine of the Black Madonna. That's located at 7625 Linwood, just east of West Grand Boulevard. And we're going to it's going to be from 6 o'clock until 9 o'clock tonight. So it's not just for the dads and their sons to be there, but the mothers and their daughters to be there as well. So we ask you to come out and support us. And it's going to be again at the Shrine Black Madonna, 7635 Linwood. And it's going to be from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock. And the other thing I just wanted to announce too was that a good friend of us, all of us here at the station, Dr. Savina Taylor, I had her on the show with me last week. She called in and announced about her crusade. But just wanted to mention too that she's having a crusade through her church, Unity Mission Church. And they're having an Hour of Deliverance crusade. And that's going to be held this Sunday, starting at 4 o'clock. And it's going to be at the new Palmer Park Bandshell, which is located right there, almost adjacent to the 12th Precinct, Detroit Police Precinct. And they're going to have a variety of different speakers. There's going to be free food. There's vendors. And the main reason why you should come is to get a chance to hear the international televangelist, Dr. Savina Taylor. So again, you don't want to miss that. And I just want to also say a very happy birthday to one of my fellow brickmasters, and that is Mr. Victor Walker. So again, happy birthday to Building Black Brickmaster Victor Walker. But before we want to start, we want to just also express our deepest condolences and our heartfelt prayers on behalf of Watkins Broadcasting and WHPR to the family of the Honorable Carolyn Cheeks Kilpatrick. We want to extend this to everyone in the Cheeks and Kilpatrick family. She was a mother, she was a grandmother, and she was a sister and an aunt to so many people. And to myself and to others, she was a great friend, a great leader, and she was a stalwart when it came down to human rights, civil rights, and just an all-around great young lady. And she will surely be missed by so many. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe she was 80 years young. And her legacy lives on with so many people, including my first guest, who is probably a person that very few people probably need to get a lot of introduction to. When you think about the city of Highland Park, when you think about gospel music, when you think about good gospel singing, and the litany goes on and on and on. But to the few people that may not know who my first very special guest is, I will kind of give you a little clue, because there was going to be a test at 11 on who she was. But for the few people that don't know who she is the city renowned Kimberly McDade. Very, very, very pleased to have you on Truth to Power today.
Well, thank you for having me, Darwin. I appreciate you.
Well, you do so much here at the station. You do so much in the city of Highland Park. One other thing, another title that you have been bestowed on you is you were elected as the secretary for the reactivated Highland Park branch of NAACP. And if you can kind of just, give a little shout out as to when those meetings are and where they're located at, please.
Oh, okay, sure. Yes, I was honored to be elected as secretary for the NAACP branch Highland Park. This is the first time in 15 years that a branch has been activated in Highland Park. And our general membership meetings are every fourth Tuesday. We've been meeting at the fire station. But if someone is interested in being a part of the Highland Park branch, they can go to naacp.org. Our branch number is 3139.
And who's the president?
President is V. Ricardo Thomas. He was the overseer and former pastor of the Faith Tabernacle Baptist Church.
Okay. And so if they would like to join, how much is the membership?
Memberships are $30. It's for 1 year. And we are just getting going. So, we encourage everyone to get a membership. You don't have to live in Highland Park to be a member. You do have to live in Highland Park in order to hold an executive office.
And she is so correct on that, because I know I'm on the executive board with Western Wayne County NAACP, but then I also wanted to join and have joined the Highland Park branch of NAACP, as well. But definitely give her and Bishop Thomas and others there, your support, because we know that NAACP is a very needed organization, especially now with all of the things that are going on, not just in terms of, say, with national, politics, but with government. And we need, a organization like NAACP to keep their finger on the pulse of what's going on. But the other thing, too, is that, as most of you know, Kimberly also has a very renowned radio show that she does here at WHBR. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. My broadcast is called Classic Gospel. It's every Sunday at 3 p.m. It's we feature a lot of classic type gospel, James Cleveland, Clark Sisters, but I also highlight some of the independent artists as well. And we have guests on. We just have a good time, just giving God praise every Sunday at 3 o'clock.
And so what got you into, because I know you also perform with your sisters, don't you?
Yes, I've been singing with my sisters, I guess, since we were maybe early age, 4 years old. My grandmother had us singing quite early, so we sing together as the Price Sisters. And we thank Sydney Spite and the Parker Pride Alumni Foundation. We sing almost every year for their Christmas event. But we've been singing in church, and especially we all grew up right here in Highland Park at the New Grace Missionary Baptist Church, where my pastor is Leon Moorhead Sr. So I've been singing a long time, and I'm thankful for that opportunity to be able to do that. But on Classic Gospel, I have had several great guests. I've had Dietrich Hatton on. I had the late, great Tessie Hill. Bonnie DeBarge, and some of the independent artists. It's exciting to see that when they first came on my show, they presented their brand new CD or project, and to see where they are now singing with Fred Hammond and different ones opening for them. It's an exciting thing to know that they started here on my show, Classic Gospel.
And what time is your show again?
It's every Sunday at 3 o'clock, and you can catch it on 88.1 FM, also on RadioWeCanSee.com and 313Watkins.com.
So you can have a great, great Thanksgiving. If you celebrate it with your other sisters, give your sisters names.
My sisters are Latanya and Angela.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to make sure the Thanksgiving and Christmas are going to be good. That might kind of enhance the Christmas present that you might get from your sisters since you gave them that shout out like that.
Right. That's right.
But then also, just who is a gospel singer or gospel performer or artist? I'm sure I'm trying to say it right. That really inspires or really motivates you. So like when you hear that person's music or that group's music, it makes you want to get up and shout and maybe run around in your house or, shout a testimony or something like that.
Well, I have to say I'm old school, so Vanessa Bell Armstrong is my favorite female gospel artist, and then Andre Crouch is my favorite male gospel artist.
What's your favorite Andre Crouch song?
Through It All and Take Me Back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you also, I know because you and I just recently, and along with the general manager here at the station, Maxine Willis, we had the Honorable Commissioner of Wayne County, Martha Scott, here, and she had did the first half an hour, of my show a couple of weeks ago. But we also were able to spend some time with Martha Scott and her family when they unveiled the new street sign on Rhode Island in Highland Park. Tell a little bit about that.
Yes, and I said she's such a beautiful woman. For her to be a commissioner and the titles that she's held and the things that she has done for the city of Highland Park as well as the state of Michigan, and for me to be able to just ask her, could she come on the show, and she just accepted that she would come on for this great opportunity. It was so Rhode Island Street, and Commissioner Scott happens to be my neighbor. I also live on Rhode Island, so the city council voted to have that street codenamed the Honorable Martha G. Scott Boulevard. And it was such a great event. Her daughter gave such great comments. Her granddaughter really, really spoke highly of her, and just the influence that she's had just as a woman, as a mother, and how she's inspired so many great people here in Highland Park. Even she was the first female mayor here in Highland Park, and she's inspired our current mayor, Mayor Glenda McDonald, who is the second female to hold that office.
Well, and it was so interesting because when I was looking at all of her family that was there, and one of the things too, that ceremony was jam packed.
It
was standing room only.
Yeah.
And this was outside, and the thing was that people stayed around because they wanted to see. She had all of her family after the ceremony was over because she was recognized by a lot of people.
Yes.
Name some of the people that you saw. I mean, there was a lot of dignitaries, including yourself that was there. But, we've already mentioned about, because she kept mentioning WHPR, in her. And again, I do want to thank you again for getting, Commissioner to come and be on Truth to Power, right the day before that event. But, it was like a lot of other people, from elected officials, prominent Highland Parkers, that were there. But name some of the people that you saw that were there.
Well, one person I was really impressed with is the pastor that opened the ceremony. It was Pastor Tellis, I believe. He gave such a grand opening prayer that was really inspirational. I think it set the tone for the event. And then also my pastor closed out the event, Pastor Leon Moorhead Sr. of New Grace Missionary Baptist Church. So yeah, it was a lot of people. Some I don't know their names. I think Eric Sabri was there,
and he's the Wayne County
right.
treasurer.
Yes.
Okay.
So
and then I saw Wayne County clerk.
Yes.
Kathy M. Garrett.
That's right.
She was there as well.
Sure. So yes, and her staff, her amazing staff, was there to accompany her as well. So yeah, it was a great affair. And I think that I heard someone say that they didn't expect so many people to come out, but she is so well loved here in Highland Park. We couldn't imagine anything else but to show up for her.
Now you say she's your neighbor?
She's my neighbor, yeah.
Okay, and so did you ever think that you would be the neighbor of someone who's as incredible as she is?
No, I didn't, because I grew up on another street. So when I moved back to Highland Park, I moved to Rhode Island, and when I was on that street, then I found out that she was my neighbor. I was really like, oh, I'm around royalty. This is amazing. So yeah, and just to see that she's so personable, and I have to give a shout out to my other neighbor, Miss Margaret Lewis. Miss Lewis used to be editor of the Legacy magazine. She's also my neighbor on Rhode Island. And Rhode Island has some great people. We have the City Council of Highland Park president, Jamal Thomas, lives on Rhode Island.
That's my frat brother. Okay.
Chris Woodard, the editor of Highland Park Journal, Rhode Island. So
another one of your NACP.
That's right.
Okay.
And Tamiko Manica is
on the City Council.
District
well,
1.
That's a popular street.
Yes,
in Highland Park.
It really is. So yeah, so great things happen on Rhode Island Street in Highland Park.
And we're not trying to take anything away from the other streets.
You're right.
In Highland Park.
That's right.
But only one street could be named after the Honorable Martha G. Scott, and that was Rhode Island.
Mm-hmm.
But now you lived in Highland Park for a lot of your life, correct?
Yes, actually, I was born here in Highland Park. Born in Highland Park General. It's now a senior living facility now, but over on Glendale and the Lodge, there was a hospital called Highland Park General, and I was born there, born and raised right here. Went to from elementary all the way to high school here in Highland Park. I remember when there was a college, Highland Park College, that if you lived in Highland Park, you could go there for free.
That was on Glendale, wasn't it?
It was on Glendale,
okay.
Yeah. It was right next door to the high school. So,
mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I have a lot of great memories, Highland Park. And even as a senior in Highland Park High School, I was part of the radio workshop, and that was actually WHPR 88.1 FM. Because I believe it was 1954, WHPR 88.1 went on the air under the Highland Park School District. And it was 1996, once the school board made some budget cuts, they could no longer keep the radio class going, that Watkins Broadcasting took over the license. And I'm so indebted to Mr. Watkins for keeping the station right here in Highland Park open to the citizens of Highland Park.
And speaking of our president, R.J. Watkins, you spent some time with him over the weekend at an event with WGPR.
Yes,
Can you tell about that?
Sure. I feel like I'm kind of related to WHPR by the station being in Highland Park under the school district, but also Mr. Watkins, Mr. Tyler, Nat Morris. We all worked together at WGPR. WGPR was my very first full-time job after school. So I really enjoyed working down there when it was on Jefferson. And so the television, what was so great about working at WGPR, I didn't know it at the time, what a historic opportunity it was, because WGPR TV 62 was the first Black-owned television station. It went on the air in September 29, 1975. So 2025 marks the 50th anniversary of WGPR. So it was really, really exciting. It was a great event. The station right now, TV 62, was sold to CBS. So now it's a museum right there in the same studio. So we had a great event, a 50-year celebration inside the studio where the scene was taped, where Big City News was taped. And we just it was a family reunion. So we had an exciting time.
And who was one of the guest speakers that was there?
Isaiah Thomas, he was there. He spoke really, really well. I enjoyed seeing him. And then Hugh Perkins was also there.
Other frat brother.
Yes. So
Alpha's in the house.
Yes, it was an exciting event just to see some of the people who I haven't seen since we worked together at WGPR.
So what was the messaging that Isaiah Thomas brought?
I think he stressed about was the importance of Black ownership, and I think somebody brought up about that he was once a owner of a team or something, and so he was really stressing that when he started playing basketball, that there wasn't Black press to cover the games and things like that. So the importance of Black ownership, which thank God, Mr. Watkins is continuing that Black minority-owned broadcast empire.
Right,
So,
here at WGPR.
yes, so I feel like he's continuing that great legacy that Dr. William B. Banks set before us with WGPR.
Absolutely. Looks like Tim says we've got a call on the on the show today. Caller.
Hello, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I'm enjoying your show and the lady that you have there. I noticed you was speaking about the different gospel music and guests, and I wanted to ask her, how does she feel about the Winans? Because that's a well-known family here that has made beautiful gospel music, and I just want to know, how does she, feel about their music? I'm going to hang up and listen. Thank you.
Could you hear her question?
I think I kind of heard it, that she wanted my opinion about the Winans
I believe
family. So. Yeah, but what I love about the Winans is just like our family. We're the Price sisters. My grandmother had us singing at an early age, and same thing with the Winans. So they are one of my favorite gospel groups, is the Winan family. And just to hear Pastor Winan still singing some of those old hymns, and he's keeping those hymns in the forefront. And so he's still singing, even though you don't hear much of them singing as a group together. I don't think they've been singing together since one of their brothers passed, but I see that they get together from time to time. And of course, CeCe Winans is one of my favorites as well. So yes, of course, yes, the Winans are right on up there with my favorites. Sure.
And caller, we want to thank you for calling in, and we
Thank
definitely
you.
want to thank you for tuning in. It takes a person like Kimberly McDade to get somebody to call in to the show today. So
Thank
caller,
you.
we appreciate you, and we hope you continue to view us, on Truth to Power. But we're going to take a break, and we will be right back and we're going to talk a little bit of politics with Jerry and Larry Biggs. So stay tuned.
Feel good about your future with tuition-free programs at Wayne County Community College District. Whether you want to be in healthcare, computer science, the culinary arts, digital media, or robotics and automation for the next generation of vehicles, WCCCD has you covered. A full range of programs to achieve your goals, fit your schedule, and give you all the support you need to be successful. All of it tuition-free. Now there's something to feel good about. Register today at wcccd.edu.
Clean up on aisle 5. Sounds like my life right now. Just one big mess.
What's going on?
It's my property taxes.
What?
I am behind, and I am so worried that I'm going to lose my house. I can pay some of it, but I can't pay it all at once.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm Eric Sabri, the Wayne County Treasurer. The last thing I want is for anyone to lose their property to tax foreclosure. We have assistance programs to help.
For more information, go to treasurer.waynecounty.com.
We're here to help.
All right, next up we got Ruth Mobley.
She's right here. No,
Oh, there she is. Don't be shy.
You got this.
Let me tell you a love story. The best love stories don't start with fireworks.
I'm Bo.
Uh-huh.
I've never been shot down with an before.
Sometimes they start with the tiniest of sparks.
I got a job at the House of Azra Winery.
An old friend of mine owned that winery. He had a son.
If that ain't a gift from God, I think I'm gonna need another one.
I think you're gonna need a hose.
How long have you been singing?
My whole life.
Oh, what a beautiful voice you have.
So, what's his name? When do I meet him?
There's just so much he doesn't know yet.
You need to fulfill your obligations to me and get back in the studio.
Somebody I want you to meet.
How do you know Babyface? Thought it was impossible. No one has ever done anything this beautiful for me.
It's nice seeing this side of you.
I will take every single thing that you care about.
I don't get to live happily ever after. I know your love is faithful. This is crazy. You barely even know me.
Well, maybe I know all I need to.
Your love is always kind.
Girl, watch your back.
I can't risk you getting hurt.
Love is all that matters, Ruth.
But I am so grateful that
Every love story starts with truth.
Where is she?
With trust.
where you go, I go.
And sometimes tragedy.
It was the miracle of you that made this happen.
Your love brought me home.
Welcome back, and you are watching Truth to Power, and I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and we are now joined by two of my esteemed NAACP colleagues at Western Wayne County NAACP, and we were just talking offset, and I was telling them about when I looked and saw in the feed that we have with our president, Gina Wilson Stewart, and our first vice president, Velma, and our second vice president, John, and third vice president, Roderick, and so on and so forth. We just happened to see a picture of my two guests from their wedding anniversary of probably, I'm not going to get you guys unless you want to say how many years? 48 years. 48 years. What's the secret? I'm gonna ask your wife first. What's the secret?
Communicate, I guess.
Communicate.
Forgive.
Oh, okay.
That too.
Well, Larry, I'll ask you. Okay, I'll ask you, Larry. What's the secret?
Well, finding commonality. I think that's one of the things that's kept us together. That we've had very common interests and very important to have those things. So, we've had 48 years of having those kind of things going on. So,
did looking back at 48 years, Jerry, I'll ask you, did you believe that you could be with this man for that long a period of time? I mean, I looked at the pictures and I saw him, and I saw he the way he was, his attire, his hair, and everything like that. What made you really say, this is the man that I want to spend the rest of my life with?
Well, I think what he was saying too is, common interests. We both were in the same profession, both social workers. We had a lot of common interests, and I think you just take one day at a time, especially when you're young. I don't know that you're looking 50 years down the road, but yeah.
Although we knew that was possible, my parents were together for over 50 years.
Oh wow!
So it's. We knew that was possible. I don't think anybody at that age is looking 50 years in front of them.
Right.
But it was something that we had seen other people do. So.
Well, that's the important part, because there's a lot of marriages that probably could, learn a lot from the two of you, and some of the knowledge and the wisdom that you can impart to a lot of, people that maybe, because I think, what do they say? Sometimes you get past the first couple of years, the rest is a little, it's a lot easier to get through. But again, congratulations on 48 years that you've been married. But today we're going to talk a little bit about, you got your shirts on, NAACP Western Wayne County, and Larry, I know you're the chairperson for the Political Action Committee. Talk a little bit about the Political Action Committee, and then talk about the event that we've got coming up next Tuesday.
Yeah, the Political Action Committee is exactly that. We're a committee that isn't attempting to have some political impact within the area of the 24 cities that are represented by the Western Wayne County or the NAACP of Western Wayne County. Say that first. And there's a variety of communities that had primaries. I think it was only 5 out of the 24 that had primaries. We focused on a couple of them to do kind of a meet and greet using speed dating, and that was in Livonia and in Westland. And that went really well, and those are kind of things that we do on a regular basis. We've done them in Inkster, we've done them in Westland, we've done them in other parts of the Western Wayne community, and we try to do things that are politically engaging, that get our members and the communities that we live in and work in engaged in the political process at both the local but also at the state and national level. So this year being a local election period, the focus has been all on local elections. And we had done 2 earlier, like I said, in Westland and Livonia. We tried to do, once they had gotten down to their number of candidates that are going to be in the November election, we tried to move it down to both of those, but we weren't able to pull it off in Westland. But we are in Livonia, and so some of these candidates were, well, a good portion of them, they had 19 candidates running for 4 seats, and that was whittled down to 8 with the primaries, and now we have the primary coming up, the election coming up, and our event is on Tuesday, October 14th, and it's at the Civic Park Senior Center is what they call it, and we had our first event there, so anybody that attended that would know where it is, but it's at 15218 Farmington Road in Livonia, which is on the corner of 5 Mile and Farmington Road.
And it's right there adjacent to the police department there.
Police department,
Okay.
the library, the city hall are all in that area. So there's a great parking, and you don't have to worry about that at all. And it's an older facility, and they are going to be moving into a new one, but it works perfectly for what we are doing on Tuesday. And we hope to have all 8 candidates there. That's not guaranteed, but we're hoping very much so that there'll be at least 4 with participation by the other candidates. And I don't know if you want me to name the candidates, but these aren't in order. They're just more about in alphabetical order. Patrick Brockway, James D. Hooper, Steve King, Eileen McDonald, Kathleen McIntyre, Jenny O'Connor, Robin Perisconi, and Kaylee Kavanaugh Reed. And they're all running for the 4 seats on the Livonia City Council. That they have more than 4 on their council, but they don't all run at the same time. So
Yeah, they
it's
usually, I
staggered.
think they staggered it.
Yeah.
Right. Like that.
So this election is to elect 4 of them, and of course that has an impact on what happens at the local level. Just prior to our primary event, they were electing or deciding whether to have a bond, and that was a big issue in our forum or our meet and greet, was discussion about that bond and whether or not that should be passed or whether you should support it. It turned out that on that election, the primary election that got it down to the 8, that was defeated. So now the city and the candidates have to look at, okay, we defeated this, now what can we do instead? And that'll be a big issue, I'm sure, among the candidates about, because some of them were for it, some of them were against it, and where do we go from here as a city? And we view all of the cities as equally important. Livonia and Westland tend to be one of the larger two cities in our area, which is why we focused on them. But we want to make sure that everybody is aware where they're having elections in their local jurisdiction, that you get out and vote. And absentee ballots have already been delivered, so some people are voting already. And there will be early voting in both communities. But it's different. It's not all 9 days. Some of them are having 9 days. Some of them are having over the weekend, because this is the local election period. So
yeah, and I know that we've got Western Wayne County is going to be in the House that day, to make certain that everything goes smooth, at the candidate forum. And I know, just to give a shout out to, our timekeeper, Donna Wilson, to give a shout out to the Honorable Connie Mitchell, who's going to be the person that's going to help to direct the moderator.
And of course,
the questions.
And of course, the moderator.
And then I guess myself being the moderator for the forum at the same time. But Jerry, I want you to just tell our audience too, why is this election so important? Because next year is the midterm, where you're going to have the governor's race, the Senate races. You're going to have other races when it comes down to Secretary of State, Attorney General. But this is more the local.
Right.
Why is this important?
Well, and all of those people are already out there campaigning for next year. I think it's most important mostly because, there's that old phrase, and I mentioned it before, all politics is local. I think people know the least about who's running on their local basis, in the local community sometimes, because the national we all hear a lot about. But unless you're really engaged in a community, you don't always know who's running or a lot about them. And I know that, they tend to run, they're nonpartisan races. But a lot of times people...
And nonpartisan meaning...
They don't run as like Democrats, Republicans, Independents. That's usually not something it's not on the ballot. And then so it's really even more important based on your values to go out there and really vet the candidates and see if they're people that you want that are in concert with your values. And I don't know if I can make a little plug for the League of Women Voters.
You already did, so go ahead.
The Honorable Connie Mitchell, who is our president for Dearborn Heights League of Women Voters. We're soon to change our name, and Donna Wilson's very involved as well. There's something called vote411.org, which is you put in your address, and they tell you who's on your ballot, and they'll also have bio information about candidates. And so that's another way. It's just kind of a complimentary, and it kind of goes along with the forums, in case you can't attend a forum. A lot of them are recorded, though, which is great. But that's another way to find out about local candidates. And I really push on whatever organization you're involved with, whether find out about your local candidates, because they are making the decisions that are really impacting you on a day-to-day basis. The safety of your community, the roads. I know a big one in our community, Dearborn, traffic, crazy driving. I think that's happening everywhere. Those are the people that really impact your day-to-day life. So it's very, very important to find out about candidates. And so the forums are great ways to attend and find out a lot of information about these people.
Yeah, I know your property taxes and your, depending on how the city is, whether you have an income tax too, but there's the ones that's spending that money. They're deciding how that money is going to be spent, them and the local school boards. And that has a greater impact on you as a person and as a citizen than a lot of the things that are decided at the state level or at the or even at the county level, or at the national level. You hear a lot about those things, but at the local level is really the level that impacts your daily life. So that's why we emphasize that.
And that's something too that I know that you and I, Connie and Donna and Laura and John Hearn and others that were on the call with us recently, we were talking about trying to get people more involved in civic engagement, to educate people when it comes down to, as you were so eloquently, saying about why people should get out and vote, not just wait until the presidential election, but also in the midterm elections next year, as well as the local, elections. But I know that Jerry and Larry, that this is the kind of like your event is kind of like the precursor to what's going on for the Unity Week. I believe that's what it's called now, with other events that's going to lead up to the grand finale on October the 19th, which is the NAACP Western Wayne County Annual Freedom Fund dinner. So if you wanted to mention, I can help you with some of the events that's going to go on. But I know your event is going to go on next Tuesday,
right?
The 14th, am I correct? And we were going to have a labor luncheon, which is what I chair, that committee, but we're going to postpone it until December, the labor luncheon. But then now there's also going to be a gospel concert and a fish fry on Saturday, the day before the event. But can you tell a little bit about those?
Well, the gospel, of course, is by the Religious Affairs Committee within the Western Wayne.
That's Reverend Bernard Jackson.
Yeah,
okay.
And they're putting that on for those people that find that is important in their life, and many of our members do. And at the same time, we're also appealing to young people to join and be a part of Western Wayne NAACP, and that's where we're having the fish fry, and that's being sponsored by the young members of the 18 and over, I believe.
The young adult.
Yeah, the young adults. And
that's chaired by Xavier Jones.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's going to be in Belleville, and it will be I can't remember the times. I think it was from 12 to 4 or something like that. But it's
and then the gospel concert, I think, is going to be in the evening time.
Yeah, I think they weren't competing as time,
correct,
but it's on the same day.
Yeah, as Xavier was saying, you can come out because it's going to be out in in the Belleville area. So come out. He's going to be cooking some of the fish that,
and I think it's right on a farm too.
It's going to be on a farm, right? Yeah. And I think this is the second one because they did one last year, as well. But the other thing too is that Pastor John Hearn is interesting. He's our second vice president for NAACP Western Wayne County, and he gave up the location for where he gets all of his fish before he cooks fish. So from what I understand, Xavier Jones is going to be doing the cooking all of the fish.
Yeah,
and then he's also one of the recipients, because now let's lead into the Freedom Fund dinner on the 19th. And that's going to be held in Lincoln Park. You can go to the website and get more information, about the time and the date, because that time, the dinner is going to start, I believe the doors open about 4:15.
Yeah.
And the dinner is going to start about 5 o'clock and go from 5 o'clock to
it's
7
on
o'clock.
Outer Drive between 4th Street and Dix, at the old Knights of Columbus Hall. And I forget the name of it now.
I believe it's the Lincoln Manor or something like that.
And it's across from the old Kmart that was on Outer Drive. So anybody that knows that area, but it's Outer Drive and Dix. 4th Street and Dix on Outer Drive. So that will give you, there's not a lot of other businesses in that area. So it would be very easy to find if you know those intersections. Just go accordingly. And we have had some really good events and with great speakers, including the president of the National NAACP at one of our events
a couple of years ago.
Yes.
Right. And we've had other great speakers.
I got to give a shout out to my president for the Detroit Downriver, APRI, A. Philip Randolph,
and she was
great.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, she was.
And we've had a variety of other, as you were saying, we had when I had emceed it, right during the COVID years that we had, I think back in 2020 and 2021, during that time, our events were held, they were Zoom. And we had Lonnie Love, the comedian, because I did Fireside Chat with her. And then we also had Christian, I think his last name is Greer. He's the president of the Detroit Science Center. Yeah. We had him on. And then we also had, I think the year Marvin Franklin emceed it, I think we had the former UAW Region 1A president, Lord Dickerson, that was also one of our, the name of the other young person that received the, that did the keynote, they kind of co-emceed it. I'm sorry, co-keynoted it, that year. But as you said, we've had a variety of great speakers and a lot of great awardees that we've given awards to, as well. And I know this year we've got several people that are going to be receiving awards, as well as the Telegram newspaper, which is going to be receiving an award. And that's the newspaper that our president, Gina Wilson Stewart, that she publishes and is the president, of. And then our own Xavier Jones is going to be receiving, an award as
and he's one of the reporters for the.
And he's one of the reporters, exactly. And then we've also got our environmental justice.
That's right.
Who happens to be Ebony Elmore, and she's always out in the community when it comes down to looking at pollution, clean air, and she's going to be also receiving, an award as well. And then there's a variety of others, but also my other fraternity brother, I have to mention about Alpha's still in the house, and that's the Reverend Duckworth, that is going to also be receiving, an award. And then, in addition, forgive me for any of the ones that I may miss that are receiving awards that day, but also in addition, the Ecorse Police Chief, Jerry Flowers, will be also receiving, an award that day. So the main thing is come out. It's going to be a great event. I think there's very few tickets that may be left, but you can still go online and get the information. There's the QR code that you can go and access the information as well.
Yeah, and it's a celebration of all of the things that we do in Western Wayne County to try to make our communities more reflexive of the populations that exist. We have a variety of communities in which people of color are a significant portion of that. Those communities, and we want to make sure that they are recognized and encouraged to be a part of their communities, and to make sure that those communities are responding to their needs. And that's why we're going into a community like Livonia that doesn't have a large population of people of color, but it has the potential for having that, and we want that community to be more inviting to other people of color, and so that's why we are focusing on them too. So
yeah, and one other person that we definitely cannot leave out that's also receiving an award from us is our state president, Yvonne White,
right? And
all of the work that she has done, all the years that she has been our fearless leader throughout, a lot of turbulent times that we've gone through, in the nation. And we definitely want to recognize our state president, Yvonne White, for all of the work that she's done throughout the community.
Can I give another shout out to Xavier and Ebony and other members of the NAACP? I was recently at a tabling event at Henry Ford College, and Connie Mitchell and Xavier were on a panel discussion talking about the importance of youth voting. So shout out.
What did they say?
Well, they were basically talking about, just being engaged, being more involved in the process, and trying to get students out to be engaged. They had a contest where they had students design buttons to vote, and they had the young woman that was who received the award for the best button, and they had the buttons available, and just really trying to get the energy up about voting and getting youth involved. And we had voter guides, and we had other information, and the NAACP was there, the League of Women Voters, the university, the college. So I think it was really a very good panel talking about
and young people have been increasingly discouraged with the political process, and they're feeling like their voices don't matter, and we're trying to make sure that they understand the importance, not only for them but for their children to come, and that we be engaged and make important decisions about how our government functions and how things go forward, and who are the people that are going to be our leaders, and they're going to be our leaders at some point, and we want them to be prepared and engaged. So,
well, and that's the thing, because we've definitely got to make sure that all hands on deck,
right?
Especially when it comes to our state next year with the governor's race and Secretary of State, as well as the Attorney General's
and the legislature,
and then the legislature, because we've got a new senator that we will be electing next year, and there's a variety of candidates that are running, for those positions, and that's something that we'll get into a little bit, in weeks to come. But the other thing that I want you to do, Larry, is just give again the location and the time for the event next Tuesday.
Yeah, it's at this Senior Civic Center on 5 Mile in Farmington, and it is doors will open at 6. We hope to get the event started at 6:30. The candidates should have arrived by 6:15, and we'll go over the ground rules. But it's at that senior center, and it will last until approximately 8:30, depending on how. And the questions are all from the audience and from people that are there. We don't pre-screen the questions prior to the event, although you as moderator will have some options about which questions you choose. But the questions will be coming from not only the candidates, the sponsoring organization, and the community, and they'll write them down and pass them in. And we hope that all of the questions will be civil and will not be attacking others, but we'll talk about information. And that's really what we want people to understand, is this is an opportunity to be informed about what the issues are and what you see as commonality with some of the candidates, because they are nonpartisan. So you don't know that isn't the ability to say, oh, well, that's a Democrat, I'm going to support that. You don't know that in this situation. So you have to know what their thoughts are and what their policies are.
Well, and I do want to thank you both for coming on the show with us today. I'm gonna ask you, pretty much like, since you've been doing a lot of shout outs today, is there any other shout outs, Jerry, that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Well, I just talking about the different organizations that I know the NAACP likes to partner with other groups, and the League of Women Voters, and I think just the shout out is to all the groups kind of working together, and absolutely. I think we're trying to do that. We all have the same goals, really, of citizen participation and just getting out and informed citizenry.
Yeah, and one of the shout outs I would make is that there's a lot of petitions going around right now, yes. And I would really advocate that everybody, before they sign a petition, that you understand what that petition is about.
Absolutely.
Because there's some good ones from one point of view and some bad ones from a point of view. Make sure that the petition you're signing is reflective of your point of view.
Yeah.
And you can only do that by reading.
Always read that 100-word summary.
Yeah, and then just like you said too, Jerry, to make sure that you vet your candidates.
Yes.
Vet the
absolutely.
issues that are also going on. Jerry, Larry Biggs, we want to thank you for coming on Truth to Power. Thank you. We definitely, you two have an open invitation to come back as often as Western Wayne County, Political Action Committee with NAACP and other committees. We've had Xavier on, we've had several others, that have been on, with us. So again, thank you again for coming on. We look forward to next Tuesday, and we will be right back. And we have a couple of state legislators that will be on the show with us very shortly. Stay tuned.
Watkins Broadcasting is going worldwide. Now you can watch Detroit's own WHPR on your TV from anywhere in the world. No matter where you are, you can stay in the know with WHPR TV and Roku. You can get your easy-to-install Roku box from wherever you shop for your entertainment gear. Once your Roku box is connected to your TV and internet, go to the channel store on the home menu of the Roku box. Enter WHPR TV in the search engine and add it to your channels. That's it. That's all you need to get the best in entertainment, news, and talk, no matter where you are. Roku brings all of your favorites to your TV. Netflix, Hulu Plus, Crackle, HBO Go, and now WHPR TV, Detroit Live.
This November 1st, the Masonic Temple comes alive with Mighty Love, a Detroit salute to Hall of Fame icons, the Spinners. Join us for an unforgettable evening featuring top Detroit talent and special guests honoring the group's legendary sound and legacy. Doors open at 7 p.m. Tickets available online and at the Masonic Temple box office. Be there for Mighty Love, a Detroit tribute to the Spinners. You don't want to miss it.
Hello? Can I speak to Sparkle?
You taught me that God forgives.
Wait a minute, you don't just walk up in my house, you gotta leave.
Hey, look, I just want to apologize how things went down tonight. We've been married for 2 years now, and lately, we ain't been the same.
People change, Jelly, and I don't want to do none of them things no more.
I didn't sign up for this come to Jesus meeting when we got married, Lorraine. I got a card game tonight with the fellas, and after that, I'm leaving. I'll be out of town for a couple days for work.
So you want me to take him for everything?
I want you to take everything that ain't nailed to the ground.
I am so sick of you, Lorraine.
In Jesus' name, oh God, we lift you up, oh God. Can I have you running up in here, Jelly?
Let me catch you in the street.
Hold on. You better back up off my wife before I make you think I'm not a preacher, boy.
So you just gonna put me out of what I built?
I love you. Don't you see that?
You belong to me.
You brought him here. I love you. You belong to me.
This is a Mike Matthews production, promoted by R.J. Watkins Studio. Now on Tubi.
You are watching a very special edition of Truth to Power, and now I am joined by two of the esteemed legislators in the House of Representatives here in the state of Michigan, and that is the Honorable Brenda Carter, who represents parts of, if I'm not mistaken, we got Pontiac, Waterford, and I know I probably missed out one or two other cities, but
just one more,
Auburn Hills. I was going to say Auburn Hills. And then we are also joined by one of her newest colleagues up in the House. And she has done so much before she became a state representative, representing parts of Detroit, parts of Highland Park. And am I missing any
Hamtramck.
And Hamtramck.
Yes.
And that is Tanya Myers Phillips. But ladies, thank you for coming on Truth to Power today. It's a pleasure.
And thank you for having us.
Well, I just want to kind of go into a little bit of detail first in terms of say about the district that you represent and the district that you represent, to kind of give our viewing audience a little bit more about the districts that you represent. And then we'll kind of go into what's going on up in Lansing.
Okay, you want to start first since it's your home, Highland Park?
Sure, absolutely. And thank you again so much for having us on today.
And we're going to give a shout out to, what's your colleague's name that I met when we were there at the unveiling of the street sign? Stuckey.
Yes.
Let's give her a shout out. It was because of her.
Stuckey,
Let's give
Highland
Shannon
Park
Stuckey.
resident.
Right. We can't do that without giving her a shout out.
Hard-working lady on my team. I'm so blessed to have her.
And if you want to mention any of the others, that's just the one that I met that was so gracious and, speaking with me about having you to appear, on the show along with your mentor.
Yes, I am extremely blessed to have a seasoned, wise representative like Rep Carter help me make the best of my first term here. Thank you, Rep.
But give some of the other people a shout out.
All right. Well, of course, I'm highlighting the beautiful State House District 7, which includes Central Detroit, Northeast Detroit, all the city of Highland Park, and all the city of Hamtramck. I might be getting in trouble naming too many names.
Well, just the people in your office, people that are in your office.
Well, we don't have a large team of state representatives. It might seem like we
That's
do.
why I'm allowing you to say it, because it won't take the whole hour of the show.
All right. Well, my legislative director is Ms. Ruth Johnson, and we worked together for many, many, many years before coming to Lansing. And a legislative director is essentially the person that helps write and analyze the legislation. And that my constituent services aide is Ms. Shannon Stuckey, who lives around the corner from here. Shout out to Ruth, shout out to Shannon, Black Lady Legislative Team, okay? So our mighty team of 3 serves approximately 92,000 residents in these 3 cities.
Okay. And State Rep Brenda Carter.
Well, I'm fortunate to have a team of 4.
All right. I have to get with my 4th person.
Okay. My Director of Constituent Services and Scheduling is Damiana Jetag. Okay. My Policy Director and Chief of Staff is Jonathan Wertheimer. And that 4th person that you see me with all the time is my husband, Randy Carter.
Boots on the ground, Randy Carter.
Right.
Well, I want you to kind of go too, because I know I want to call you Tanya, but I know I have to be respectful and say the Honorable Tanya Myers Phillips, but because I've known you before you became, state representative. Talk a little bit about what you did before you became a state representative.
Ooh, well, I had the pleasure of practicing law. I loved it, loved every moment of it. So right before I took office, I worked for the Sugar Law Center for Economic and Social Justice, and that is a nonprofit social justice law firm. And usually nonprofit social justice and law firm, usually you don't get those 3 together. Right. But at the Sugar Law Center, I had the honor of doing civil rights work, constitutional law, government accountability. It was amazing. And I also served as a contract attorney or consultant with Michigan Legal Services, and that is a traditional legal service agency that primarily handled housing cases. So with them, I did a ton of work around eviction defense, helping tenants and homeowners who are facing eviction be able to fight back, because a lot of our properties are owned by large corporations these days, and be able to exercise their rights so they could stay in their home. And I did a number of things. I was one of the founding members of the Detroit Right to Counsel Coalition to make sure that individuals in the city of Detroit had a right to legal counsel when they were facing eviction. And along with so many community partners, we were able to pass the first right to counsel law in the state of Michigan. So I'm extremely happy
Congratulations.
and proud about that. And along with Rep. Carter, one of the things in this budget that came home was continued funding to support that right to counsel initiative. So prior to coming to Lansing, I was a lawyer and a community advocate. I still am. I'm just wearing a state rep hat right now. Because to tell you the truth, I still am. But I'm bringing those skills to the House of Representatives.
So what's your thoughts in terms of, say, about State Rep Brenda Carter?
State Rep Carter is amazing. Okay. She is like the matriarch and wise counsel of the House of Representatives. So she doesn't have to say a lot. She doesn't have to say it loud. But when she speaks, our colleagues are quiet and they listen. So I'm very glad that, she just looked over. I sit a little bit in front of her and to the left. There isn't really much of a orientation program when you take office. It's kind of baptism by fire. But Rep. Carter just kind of tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Okay, little sis, I'm going to tell you what you need to know." And she does. And I appreciate that, With some things, in every new position, there's kind of a ramping up period. No matter who you are, how good you were in your former role, just to be honest, every new role requires a different skill set, right? And you don't have a lot of time to pick it up. So it is a blessing when another sister, another woman of color comes along and kind of gives you the cheat sheet so you can succeed. And that's important because it's not for me just so I could be wonderful, but it helps me be more effective for the communities I represent and the 92,000 people that are counting on me to be able to fight for them in Lansing. So I thank you for that, Rep. Carter.
So, Rep. Carter, give your assessment of your mentee, Tanya Myers Phillips.
Well, when I first met this young lady, it was something special about her. Finding out that she had a civil rights attorney background was exactly what we need in the Lansing. There were so few African Americans in the legislature in Lansing, and each of us represent between 92 and 95,000 constituents. Rep. Myers Phillips, one of the things I really liked about her was that no matter what I said to her, she listened. And it was like a huge honor when the Michigan Legislative Black Caucus gave a pinning ceremony for Miss Myers Phillips, and I chose her specifically because I have been blessed in my life to have people like me who mentored me to where I am right now. And I feel it's my obligation, not only for Miss Myers Phillips, but Miss Grant, Miss Edwards, Miss Neely, the very few, many of us up in Lansing, there's so few of us sisters that we have got to stick together. I want to say when I first came to the legislature 7 years ago, there was no roadmap for me. There was no mentor for me. I came into this drinking out of a fire hose and not knowing how to navigate anything. And because my district, which is about 93,000 people, is very diverse. Very diverse. Waterford Township is very diverse. Auburn Hills is. Pontiac is pretty much like Highland Park, but the rest of my district isn't. So I needed that guidance. I needed somebody to be there to say, walk this way, look this way, act this way, and then you can succeed. And this is what I really like about the young ladies that I mentioned, because we're doing a program right now, Darwin, where Miss Myers Phillips, she's going to expound on her role, but Miss Edwards, she's the treasurer of the MLBC, and what she's doing right now is making sure that all the African American or Black legislators in Lansing get representation when it's time to have a fundraiser. Usually we're not very well compensated.
No.
Yeah, we're not. We're not only from our districts, because our districts are usually socioeconomically challenged, but in Lansing we don't seem to get the same amount of love that some of our other colleagues did. So what we did was we put together this think tank, and I'm gonna let Miss Myers Phillips talk about it, because this is part of the training. I passed this knowledge on to her, and she and Rep. Edwards ran with it. Talk about it.
Oh, thank you so much, and thank you for birthing this. Really, it was Rep Carter's brainchild, and I'm just helping put it together. Rep Edwards and myself, and Rep Edwards represents parts of the east side of Detroit as well. So essentially, just Black legislators, we do have to support each other. We have to. And again, it's not just a closed little club for us. We have to do it to make sure our communities are strong and represented well. So the thing that Rep Carter and I are working on, and Rep Edwards, is two things. One, increasing the funding for Black representatives, where we are kind of like cooperative economics in a sense, supporting each other's fundraising endeavors, because if we don't support each other, then who in the heck will, right? So we are putting together that system. And then the other thing that we, all of us legislators should do, is canvass our districts year round. Now, we mentioned how large our districts are and how many people we need to touch, right? Some people are able to bring on paid canvassers, but you do as much as you can when you're not in Lansing. You're in the community, you're knocking on doors, you're going to events. And Rep Carter's idea is, why don't we put a schedule where we come into each other's districts and again help each other? So we are launching that, where we're in Detroit and Highland Park and Hamtramck and Pontiac. We go out to Flint, Grand Rapids, all of our representatives, Ann Arbor. We are, all over the state of Michigan, but we're putting together a schedule where we're going out and walking and supporting each other's district. And and the larger party is supporting that as well. But that was, again, a wonderful idea by Rep Carter, and it was my honor to fill it out and put the mechanism together. So we are not just talking the talk, but we are modeling and walking the walk of how we as people of color, especially in this time, we must, it is not optional, we must support each other so that we can continue to thrive in our cities and in this country, really.
Well, before I get to talking about what I have you two ladies to talk about with HR1, I want you to give your one-word assessment of State Rep Brenda Carter.
Wise.
Why do you say that?
Well, she is. She has a lot of wisdom. She does, and she's generous in sharing it.
Okay, and I'll ask you, State Rep Carter, what's your one-word assessment of State Rep Myers Phillips?
Incredible. That's what I say. We look for, when we get to a certain point in our lives, we look for people that we can pass the baton to, because we know that they will not only utilize it to the best of their ability, but they will do the most important thing, pass it on. It's got to be something that's generational, that we continue this. Our ancestors did it for us. That's why we're sitting here. And then now it's our obligation to pass it on. And this is what I see in her. I see the future. I see the hope.
And I'm gonna ask you another question before we get to this. So Brenda, forgive me, but if you had your mother, is she still with us?
She is. Estella Myers. Yeah.
What's her name?
Estella.
What is the one word that Estella would say to describe her daughter, especially looking at how she has grown so much in her eyes as well as in your family's eyes?
Well, one word, I would say caring. And one little story I'll share from my mom when I was younger. I don't know. I mean, I would say this is my passion to serve has been with me. That's my calling, and even when I was younger, my mom would tell me to stop worrying so much. And one day she kind of, did this to my shoulders and this to my head. And she's like, look, you have to stop carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. You are just a child. But, that I just have a lot of empath tendencies, very empathetic to other people's suffering, our people's suffering. And so I would say my mom would say caring, that I care a lot.
And what is the one word you use to describe your mother?
Oh, my everything. She's amazing.
Even that's two words, but we'll get it.
Oh,
So everything there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's get to HR1. Let's talk about that. Brenda, I'll let you frame the foundation of HR1.
Okay, and thank you for that, Darwin, because when I realized the triple threat that my district was facing, my district has 40,000 people who are dependent on Medicaid. Okay, and that's a lot of them is right in the city of Pontiac where I live. And when I realized the triple threat, and let me acknowledge the triple threat again so our viewers can understand, we were threatened with a shutdown in Lansing. That if we had shut down the government in Lansing, we would have lost a lot, including funding for our schools, funding for some of our QHCs. We would have lost a lot with the Lansing shutdown, which we successfully averted.
Yes.
Okay, it was a long, cold, grueling week.
Yes.
But at the end, when it was, we didn't get everything that we wanted, but we didn't lose everything. And I'll let Rep. Myers-Phillips give her take on it as far as Highland Park is concerned. But the other two threats we facing, and we still are, is the shutdown in Washington, which would have exacerbated what would happen in Lansing if Lansing had shut down. But since Lansing didn't shut down, now we're dealing as we speak with the shutdown in Washington, and people are coming to me in Pontiac and saying, I've lost my SNAP benefits, I've lost my Medicare. Not Medicare, but my Medicaid. And they're beginning to panic. And what I'm telling them is stay calm. We're going to work through this, but stock up on food. Make sure you have your paperwork in order, because we have to deal with some situations like what happened in Chicago. You know, we got that going on in Pontiac right now. These federal agencies are running rampant all over Pontiac. So what I'm doing is I'm protecting my constituents, I'm preparing my constituents, and I'm empowering my constituents. Right now we have the Pathways to Progress to make sure people get good paying jobs. If you have a good paying job, you don't have to depend on the government to take care of you. But by going back to what you were asking, the shutdown is happening. I'm not sure if we're going to see anything in sight. I talked to Senator Peters. He didn't seem too optimistic about it, because what they want us to do in Washington, or them to do in Washington, is to gut everything. Primarily healthcare, and that's the reason why we're on this program. But with HR1, it's already here. And for those who don't know what HR1 is, that's that one big, beautiful bill that was passed into law July 4th, on the 4th of July of this year. And this is why we're on this program right now, to kind of protect, prepare, and empower our viewers to what we can do to deal with these two things that's happening right now. And Tanya, do you want to talk? Representative Myers-Phillips, do you want to talk a little bit about HR1 and the one big beautiful bill and the shutdown in Washington?
Absolutely. This bill, this is one of the cruelest things that you can do to people in vulnerable communities, because essentially what the big beautiful bill does a lot of big ugly things, honestly. But one of the worst things about it, in my opinion, is the funding that it takes away from Medicaid and from SNAP benefits.
And what population really benefits most from those two, from Medicaid and from SNAP?
Predominantly communities of color, our communities. And because this is not just something that impacts communities of color, poor and working class Americans, okay? The middle class is disappearing in terms of how we traditionally have defined the middle class. And the wealth gap between the highest earners in America and everybody else, essentially, is as large as it's ever been in history.
Wow.
So, in a sense, the Big Beautiful Bill Act impacts everybody. One, it takes more away from our most vulnerable populations just up front, and also through increasing the quote-unquote work requirements to receive health services. And there have been numerous studies that show that's ineffective, but essentially what that's doing is they're going to paperwork a lot of people out of their coverage. And they know that that's going to be the end result of what is happening with these long and confusing paperwork requirements. So a lot of people are going to lose coverage, which is terrible.
Critical.
Your health should not be a political bargaining chip.
Right.
Okay, so that it actually impacts a lot of rural areas, and there have been a lot of analyses that state that the rural areas are going to be harder hit than a lot of our urban centers, because it's going to, you know, kind of kick butt in Highland Park and Hamtramck in our communities, most definitely. But there's at least more of a infrastructure in place with hospitals and community health clinics that is just not seen in rural areas. And some of our colleagues up north are acknowledging just the shortage of birthing delivery centers, where it's just kind of you don't even have a place to have a baby in some areas of our colleagues up north. So it's going to, ironically, a lot of the areas that voted red or voted for Trump and have been kind of supporting what's going on politically are going to be devastated when this really starts kicking in. But it's not even just for the poorest of the poor. And, you know, Rep. Carter, who's our insurance guru, will kind of elaborate a little more on this. But you're going to see healthcare premiums start to go up for everybody, you know, because it's going to be harder to get reimbursements for hospitals. And you'll see, you know, you have the kind of opt-in period for your insurance, and they're going to start sending those notices out soon. And some people are going to look at it and get sticker shock, like, I can't believe my premium is going up. And that's going to cause a ripple effect. It's like, do I pay my health insurance, or do I pay the rent or the mortgage or the car note, and where's the food coming from? So it seemed like we just kind of got something together that sort of worked with, you know, what we call Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act. And they just basically said, forget it. We're not doing that. You know, we'd rather pay for these tax cuts for the wealthy. And they have to get that money. That it has to balance out some kind of way. And the big, beautiful bill is the big, bad balance to pay for those other corporate tax incentives, essentially. You know.
Well, Brenda, I know we got to take a break in about 5 minutes, but I'll let you elaborate up until, you know, from what State Rep. Myers said, you know, that Myers Phillips said. What would you like to kind of elaborate on before we take our break?
Okay, I really want to elaborate on a point she brought up very well, because this past summer I had an opportunity to go to the 110th district. It's 110 representatives in Lansing. So the 110th is way up north. It's in the Keweenaw Peninsula. And while I was up there, they lost one of their hospitals. So in order for them to get the care that they need, they have to travel a couple hours over to Houghton Hancock, or either down to Traverse City in the lower peninsula to get the care that they need. Now, imagine you go into labor in Iron Mountain. That borderlines Wisconsin. Okay, you go into labor and you got to drive 2 hours. Okay, and this is largely districts that voted for Republicans. So what I'm seeing up there, and what we saw when we were in the parade, were a lot of angry constituents, because who's being hit by these policies? Not the people who vote for them, but the people who they represent. So that is critical. Yes, a lot of our districts are going to be impacted, because a lot of our districts, the black districts, are pretty much impoverished. Like I said, 40,000 people in my district are on Medicaid. So yeah, they're going to be hurt. And I do want to also elaborate on the fact of something, or expound on the fact that once these prices rise in insurance, okay, what's going to happen is people are not going to be able to afford that insurance. The marketplace is going to shut down on them. And what happens to a district that has high diabetes, high strokes, high heart attacks? The mortality rate is already high in black communities.
And that's the thing, because we want to go back to that. We got to take a break, but we want to expound more on that part. Okay. So I am with State Representative Tanya Myers Phillips, State Representative Brenda Carter, and we will be right back with Truth to Power.
Thank you.
Have you ever wanted your own TV show? Have you dreamed of showcasing your talent for the world to see? Well, now you can. Have your own TV show. You can have your own 30-minute show. Not only will you be seen in the Detroit area, but you can be viewed worldwide. For more information, call 313-868-6612. Visit our studios and receive a free TV interview to promote your business, church, or organization by appointment only.
Arrested? You have the right to remain silent. Everything you say can and will be held against you. Don't talk to the police. Talk to me first, Attorney Warren E. McAlpine from the Action Attorney Center. I know the law and I know your rights. Whether felony, misdemeanor, drug, OWI, domestic violence, or traffic violation, I can help you. Call today, Warren E. McAlpine, 1-888-292-6908.
Block time is available. Get yours. Call 313-868-6612. That's 313-868-6612. Executive producer R.J. Watkins. Program director Henry Tyler. 107.5 FM. WGPR HD3. RadioWeCanSee.com.
This November 1st, the Masonic Temple comes alive with Mighty Love, a Detroit salute to Hall of Fame icons, the Spinners. Join us for an unforgettable evening featuring top Detroit talent and special guests honoring the group's legendary sound and legacy. Doors open at 7 p.m. Tickets available online and at the Masonic Temple box office. Be there for Mighty Love, a Detroit tribute to the Spinners. You don't want to miss it.
Hello? Can I speak to Sparkle?
You taught me that God forgives.
Wait a minute. You don't just walk up in my house. You gotta leave.
Hey, look, I just want to apologize how things went down tonight. We've been married for 2 years now, and lately, we ain't been the same.
People change, Jelly, and I don't want to do none of them things no more.
I didn't sign up for this Come to Jesus meeting when we got married, Lorraine. I got a card game tonight with the fellas, and after that, I'm leaving. I'll be out of town for a couple days for work.
So you want me to take him for everything?
I want you to take everything that ain't nailed to the ground.
I am so sick of you, Lorraine.
In Jesus' name, oh God, we lift you up, oh God. Can I have you running up in here, Jelly?
Let me catch you in the street.
Hold on. You better back up off my wife before I make you think I'm not a preacher, boy.
So you just gonna put me out of what I built?
I love you. Don't you see that?
You belong to me.
You brought him here.
I love you. You belong to me.
This is a Mike Matthews production, promoted by R.J. Watkins Studio. Now on Tubi.
Truth to Power. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and we have two very esteemed state representatives in the House up in Lansing, and that is newly State Representative Tanya Myers Phillips, as well as the matriarch. I want to put her in that category. The matriarch in Lansing, and that is State Representative Brenda Carter. But Brenda, before we went to break, we were talking about the mortality rate in terms of, say, with insurance, and kind of elaborate a little bit more when it comes down to the insurance and the mortality rate.
Thank you, Darwin. A lot of people don't understand insurance risk. And the reason I went out and got a producer's license in insurance is not because I plan on selling insurance, because I don't. Okay, what I wanted to do is like when I took the kids to Japan. In order for me to take the kids to Japan, I had to learn Japanese. So same thing with insurance. I had no knowledge of insurance. Only what I saw was a Blue Cross Blue Shield bill that had a 0 on it, and if it had a 0 on it, I threw it in the trash because I didn't owe anything. Okay. But being on the insurance committee was a whole different thing because they were talking about things I didn't understand. So I went ahead and I went ahead and got an insurance producer's license so I could understand risk. And what is risk about? Risk is about if you have a number of claims here, it has to balance out with the number of people who pay for those claims. Okay? Law of large numbers is what it's called. So if you raise the price of premiums here, you have to raise the insurance rates on the customers that you have in order to compensate for it. Now, how does this all tie into the one big beautiful bill? Okay, if you squeeze that market down, if you force the people to pay more for insurance because the market price is too high here, you got to get the money from over here, and if the population that you're serving can't afford the insurance rates you have already, what you do is you increase that market of people who are underinsured. That means you don't have enough insurance on your policy, or uninsured, which means you don't have a policy at all. Now let's go back to that question you were talking about mortality or morbidity. How many people in communities like mine have diabetes? How many people in communities like mine have heart disease? Number one killer of black folks, heart disease. How many people do you know this year that have died of a stroke? So you're looking at people who need this precious preventative health care in order to offset these mortalities. Okay? But if you don't have insurance, like this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, how many women, knowing that black women die 4 times as many as any other population from breast cancer disease? How many people can afford to go have a mammogram, Ms. Myers-Phillips? How many of us? But yet still you see our poor sisters going around amputated because they didn't have the health care. So when you come in with some legislation that takes away your ability to have these preventive services done, for whatever reasons, like you mentioned, the work requirements, that's awful, Darwin. Because what they have done is made it so that you have to fill out this paperwork twice a year instead of once a year. Okay, you have to work 20 hours a week, work or volunteer 20 hours a week or 80 hours a month. Or if you don't, guess what you lose? You lose your health care. So let's drill this down. What does this mean with the one big beautiful bill and the Washington shutdown as it pertains to Medicaid, Medicare, SNAP, work requirements on communities that are already historically underserved? In my opinion, it's a purge.
Wow. Well, you know, and that's and I'm sorry, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just agreeing, and just really the gravity of it is just weighing on me. You know, because this is beyond red and blue or Democrat and Republican. You know, our leadership should be better. They should. They're not. They should be, but they're not. But when you think of people as human, you wouldn't pass policies like that.
Right.
You know? So I was just sitting with the gravity of, you know, what we were talking about during the break. You know, where does this lead?
Yeah. When I tell people in Pontiac, and I've been really boisterous about it because I want them to prepare so we can protect them, but most importantly, empower them. Because we can't sit back and do nothing. This happened in New Orleans with Katrina. A lot of people didn't do what they were warned to do. And the results of that was catastrophic. As you know, in the 9th Ward, 1,800 people perished. Now, how many people are going to perish from these egregious acts that are coming out of Washington? Once again, I want to applaud my colleagues who fought long and hard and suffered in Lansing to get the omnibus budget passed. It was incredible work. We saved a lot of pain on a lot of people. But that was just the beginning.
So ladies, talk about the concessions that then the Democrats and the Republicans had to make to each other.
I don't think either one of us know the nuts and bolts of it because neither one of us are on appropriations, but we can give you a high level view of what it is. You want to from your committees, and then I'll get from mine. Okay.
Yeah. Well, overall, I said this wasn't a perfect budget, but considering the backdrop of everything, I think it's a good outcome. It's pretty good considering where we started from. Okay. So where we started from, we had the backdrop of the big, beautiful bill. So a lot of the state revenue comes from the feds, right? So about, I hope I'm not giving you the wrong statistic, but I believe about a third of our budget comes from federal money, so cuts at the federal level do come down to the state level. So we have that going on. And then our colleagues across the aisle, unfortunately, their opening negotiation was to slash everything. So and Rep. Carter, she's, been serving longer than I, so she can fill in the budget processes. But this is how ideally it should go, right? I mean, committees should be meeting. There should be public hearings held. The budget, the entire budget should have been completed by July 1st, right? So the governor presented her executive budget. The Senate presented their budget on time, early in the spring. And the House of Representatives, our governor is a Democrat. The Senate is still made up of majority Democrats. The House of Representatives, last year we had what's called a trifecta, meaning that the House of Representatives was a majority Democrat as well. This past election cycle, we lost seats. Democrats lost seats. So the majority of House members, it's not a huge majority, but it's a majority, are Republican, and their leader, Matt Hall, seems to get his playbook from Washington. So while the others, 3 branches of government, right? So while the government did their, I don't want to frame it like that because that technically involves the judiciary. So there are 3 stools in Lansing. Let's just kind of put it that way. 3 legs to the stool. All right. So the governor did her part. The Senate did their part. The House of Representatives, the majority of Republicans chose not to do our part on time. So the budget that they threw out, which was horrible and not taken seriously by anybody, slashed like everything pretty much. A lot of the critical benefits, the services, school lunch, just throw that out the window. Anything with diversity and equity inclusion, we're not doing that. I mean, it was a horrible slash and burn budget that nobody, certainly Rep. Carter and I, that's not even a conversation when you start that, right? So that's how our budget negotiation process kicked off in the House. Nothing happened in the spring. The Speaker of the House of Representatives stated a lot of times on record, we can go into October. That was incredibly cruel and reckless. So July 1st went by, no budget. That's important because our schools, most government agencies, their fiscal year begins in July. So our schools, our babies, our other partners, are looking to see what's the budget? What do we have to work with? So they've been on pins and needles for months, wondering, what the school year is going to look like, what are services going to look like. But I say all that's a long way of saying, we started in the red because of, in terms of our values, because of what was going on in Washington and the type of leadership we had in the House. So being able to kind of fight our way back from that position and be able to put in place, reserves that offset a lot of the, not completely, I won't say completely, but mitigate a lot of the harm that's coming out of this one big, beautiful bill. And keep in mind, state of Michigan budgets, we're only going 1 year at a time. So this year we have some relief, but we still have to keep looking down the road. We have to keep doing this again every single year. So to be able to come up and provide some relief, some mitigation to those cuts, and to be able to provide relief and mitigation to the SNAP benefits, to be able to hold on to what they call the education categoricals. You have the amount that every student gets, and then you have things like, free meals, the transportation, the at-risk funding, the after-school programs, the things that make education equitable for our communities. Those things were on the chopping block.
Yes, they
So
were.
to be able to fight back and get those things in the budget again. And also, I like I call them the big three departments, the ones that are charged with caring about what happens to communities of color and vulnerable communities at all. The Attorney General's office, the Department of Civil Rights, the Secretary of State, those were on the chopping block as well for severe, 50% cuts to their budget. Of course, that was a non-starter. So to be able to fight back and get those departments whole, because again, they have a special mission where they actually respond to citizen complaints, where they can go out and investigate the Secretary of State's office, make sure, we actually have a free and fair election next year, mission critical, and then keep those departments whole. Those are some big wins in this budget. So, there are some things, again, it wasn't perfect, but overall, coming from the Republican kind of attack on our humanity,
Project 2020.
To crawl and fight back out of that, to kind of get to a position of stabilization and, dare I say, investment in some areas, I think overall was pretty good. But again, I'm so glad Rep. Carter is doing this tour, because this is not it's not a done deal. We bought some time in this budget. We can say it like that, but this is still a fight.
What Rep. Myers-Phillips is saying, Philip Myers, which one is it?
You got it, Myers-Phillips.
Thank you. Is saying is absolutely correct, because the full implementation of H.R. 1 will occur around January 2027. They're just ramping this puppy up, going through the midterms. The midterms is next year. And one of the things I like to say to my colleagues out there is unity. Okay. I know that when we have elections, the one thing we want to do is tear each other apart in hopes of getting the top prize. Well, in this particular case, there is no top prize. If you win or lose, you're going to serve communities that are hurting. So what I'm asking my colleagues to do is to unify. And that's what we're doing with the Michigan Legislative Black Caucus. And Keith, I'm not calling your last name, but you know who I'm talking about. I sit on your e-board. I want the caucus to join in on this, because those of us who do represent majority communities of color, we need all the help we can get. Okay, as Representative Myers-Phillips said, that the cards are stacked against us, and not against us personally. This is politically, and if you can gentrify, I don't know if there's any gentrification going on in your area, but boy, oh boy, Pontiac is a hot mess. And we absolutely need representation, because representation matters, Darwin. And when you have organizations like APRI, NAACP, which you're having a Western Wayne coming up, and shout out to North Oakland branch of the NAACP, who's going to have the first Black woman Supreme Court Justice, Kyra Harris Bowden. She's going to be speaking tonight at our banquet. Yeah. And I would just like to expound on that a little bit, because I will always give a shout out to Representative Joe Tate. He wasn't given a roadmap either, being the first Black speaker in the House in the history of the state of Michigan. But he probably did more for communities of color than anybody that ever sat in that seat. Okay, and he needs to be, history needs to acknowledge it, because people will sit back and tell what he didn't do. Who gave him a roadmap?
True.
Who gave him a roadmap?
True.
But he did take care of Pontiac. So thank you, former Speaker Joe Tate.
Well, we've got probably about 10 minutes left in our segment, and I know this time always goes by fast.
It really does.
Yes. That's why I definitely want to invite you to come back on. But Brenda, is there anything else that you'd like to expound on before we get ready to wrap up?
Yes, I do want to expound on the Boots on the Ground, Protect, Prepare, and Empower tour that's coming up. It's going to kick off in Pontiac. It's going to end in Pontiac because, hey, Yaktown don't back down. Bottom line, okay? But it's November 10th from 5 to 7 at the Bowen Center. I'm already hearing that it's going to be so large I may have to change the venue, and I'm on court UAW Local 653 in the case I have to do that. But this tour is going to go to, and I haven't set the dates yet, but the people who have confirmed they want this tour to come to their districts is East Point. That's Representative Edwards. Representative Neely from Flint. Representative Amos O'Neill from Saginaw. Representative Kofia. What's Kofia's last name?
You got Betsy Kofia.
Betsy Kofia from Traverse City. Okay, we're going to go over to Kristen Grant, Grand Rapids. Joey Andrews in Benton Harbor. We're going to go down to Dearborn to Alabas Farhat. Now, these are people who have already confirmed they want this knowledge, this basic knowledge. And this is not a political tour. This is protect, prepare, empower these districts. And we are going, before we come back to Pontiac, we're going to end up in Detroit.
Oh, yeah. Detroit and Highland Park right here. Yes.
So this is so incredible. What we've been talking about right now, I actually asked the people at Women in Government to help me get information out, PSAs, and I know that Truth to Power has graciously invited me to do a PSA on the HR1 tour. But it's so critical. We have between now, this is October 10th, 2025, and January 1, 2027, to protect,
that's right,
prepare, empower. And if we get our boots on the ground and we do our work and we find young people like Miss Myers Phillips and young people like Mr. Darwin Griffin, we can sit down and get a rest. Okay. How you like that, Dawn? Was that cute? Anyway, but yeah, that's what's really important. That's what I want people to know. But I really would like to hear from the next generation, the generation behind me. Now, what words would you like to leave for Highland Park and in Michigan in general?
I would say it's all to stay hopeful, to be encouraged. It's a lot happening right now. And when we watch the news, which we should, we always have to be informed. You know, you can sometimes feel like it's just so heavy and what can I do? And, you know, the world is kind of coming to an end. We are definitely under attack. It is not our imagination. It is bad. And our democracy is in a very fragile place, and communities of color are under attack. So all of those things are happening, but it can be overwhelming. But stay hopeful. It is always darkest before dawn. And, you know, the things that we're doing here today and just setting the table for this tour, you know, as long as there's a will to fight, we can fight and we can protect our community. So nothing is, the future is yet to be determined. The outcome is not set in stone. So let us keep preparing ourselves, keep educating ourselves on how we can take care of ourselves. So it's heavy, it's hard, but our ancestors who came before us,
absolutely,
they had to fight so much more with so much less. So let us be encouraged. Let us stay unified. Let us be courageous. Let us get our boots on the ground, right? In Lansing, in Detroit, in Highland Park, in Pontiac, in our institutions, in the streets.
In the street.
Okay.
Go
together.
Where our people are.
Yes. And we will overcome.
We always have.
We will.
Mm-hmm. And you know, that's great to hear you say that, because the thing is that a educated community is a community that can thrive.
Absolutely.
And that's what you are doing with your colleagues. You're educating people about HR1. You're educating people about the different attacks on different populations, different ethnic groups, different socioeconomic groups, you know, throughout. So that's the important part. And as you keep saying, the legacy is left to young ladies like Myers Phillips. The legacy is left to others there with you. And as I always say to people, you have to share knowledge, not keep it in.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Darwin. And I think about over my life and the wonderful people, like I mentioned earlier off record, two people that, well, three, because thank God you didn't ask me about my mother. Okay, because that would have brought me to tears.
That'll be the next time you come on the show.
Okay, well, but the two people that's not related to me that influenced my life very heavily was Angela Davis, and most people do know that great woman, the great intelligent black woman who was incarcerated and went through all kinds of trauma just because of her political beliefs. And then the one that probably touched my heart the most, and that's the late great Winnie Mandela, because the story they wrote about her, just like they're writing it about us now. You know, we have great leaders right now: Ketanji Jackson Brown, Kamala Harris, the mayor of Cantrell of New Orleans. You got the one Letitia James up in New York. Yeah. They don't have a good word to say about none of these sisters, just like they didn't have a good word to say about Winnie Mandela. But I had a chance to talk to her in New York. And I had a chance to ask her all those media-related questions that I had read about her. And she passed on to me wisdom that I share today. And when my time comes, I'm going to pass it on to you.
And, you know, it's so interesting, and it's great to hear you say that because, you know, the legislature is in good hands with you.
Aw, thank you.
And it's passed on from the great legislation of Brenda Carter and her colleagues that have set the path to make the path in your journey a lot easier.
Yes.
And that's what needs to be done. But I just want to say this too real quick, is that there's also the 30th anniversary of the Million Man March.
And
that's coming up, you know, that's coming up, you know, this weekend. So it's like, you know, that's something that I'll be involved in a program, you know, about that, because I was there at the first Million Man March 30 years ago, and I'll be on a show talking about that. But the other thing too is that I want to say this too before we close.
Don't let me get off before
I will let you. I will let you. But the other thing I want to say too is that we here at Watkins Broadcasting, we're having a meeting tomorrow at 3:00, going from 3 to 5, and this is something that was put on by our president, R.J. Watkins, as well as our general manager, Maxine Willis, to pretty much to give people an opportunity here. The hostesses, the co-hosts, and others that are involved in the programming here at WHPR, the Henry Tylers, the Lorenzo Coxes, the Tim Smiths, the Ariana Watkins, to give us an opportunity to all kind of do a little meet and greet with each other, and to see in terms of say how we can help each other. Because just like how I had Kimberly, Kimberly McDade on the show earlier today, and she does a radio show, so great. And that's what we have to do, and that's what we're going to do. And there's probably is going to be a part 2 to that. So we'll do one part tomorrow, then another part probably on another day for those that can't come. But I'm going to let you, we got to wrap up. Tim is telling me we need to wrap up, but I'm going to let you get the closing statement.
Thank you. Because 2 years later, we all watched the Million Man March, and we were so proud of that 2 years later, the great Felecia Nesu, Asia Coney, and the Midwest coordinator for the Million Woman March, which was myself, staged the largest gathering of black women in the history of this country, the 1997 Million Woman March. And our 28th anniversary is October 25th. So I would definitely, if you guys have me back around for that, because there were several people in Michigan that Leona Taylor Lansing, LaShonda Bartell right here in Detroit. These are Jamie Green. These are all women. I'm trying to Kirby up in Flint that helped organize Michigan to get the buses over there to the Million Woman March. So yes, long live the spirit of the Million Man March. Long live the spirit of the Million Woman March.
So eloquently stated, that is closing our segment today. You've been watching Truth to Power with my special guest today, State Representatives Tanya Myers Phillips, State Representative Brenda Carter, and her colleague, who is also sitting here with his boots on the ground, the former vice chair of the Pontiac City Council, Randy Carter. But we are looking forward to having you back on the show.
Thank you.
Very, very soon.
Thank you.
You've been watching Truth to Power, and I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and we will hope that you have a great and peaceful weekend.